The upcoming stories can all be found in various religious texts, but the atheist content creators telling the stories are drunk. So, whilst the stories are genuine, the details may be embellished. A little. Welcome to Holy Spirits.
One more.
How are you feeling?
Extremely inebriated. However,
yeah.
however, I'm. What's the point? It's the point. This is like I don't do things by halves, and in my normal day to day. When I'm posting shit on TikTok or working with the ACA, I'm not allowed to be drunk. It's like no. You must be compos mentis so you don't embarrass us. But I'm happy to just embarrass myself in front of the camera because fuck it. This is the internet. We monetize suffering. That's how the internet works. And my final story is because I'm a massive weeb. I'm a big old nerd. I love the Japanimation and the video games. And therefore, I have dipped slightly into the Shinto mythology. Shinto being one of the major religious sects of Japan, along with Buddhism. And also Christianity. It's weird. The whole thing is like if you are Japanese, you have a Christian wedding and a Buddhist funeral and a Shinto, but you observe Shinto festivals, like going to the shrine at New Year and wishing for good luck. Okay, so if you've seen the red gates, big red gates, big red fucking. They're called Torii gates, and they are being Shinto. So this is a Shinto myth. Hello, my name is Jamie. I am the Blind Limey on Tinternet. I am relatively inebriated right now, and I am a pro-am atheist communicator online. I'm currently drinking a Kentucky Mule, which is ginger beer and whiskey. And I'm about to indulge in one of my favorite stories from the Shinto pantheon because I am a weeb and I like all that Japanese malarkey. So, if you people out there have a younger sibling. I do. I don't know whether you do, Ben. Many people do. We love them, but they can be extremely annoying. And the inciting incident of this story is basically a younger sibling being a bit of a dickhead. So the Shinto storm god, Susanoo no Mikoto, who's already kind of in the shit with the gods because he's basically a bit of a dickhead, tries to go and visit his older sister, Amaterasu, who is the sun goddess. Now, because Susanoo is a bit of a dickhead, Amaterasu is like, What do you want? Why are you here? And it's like, sis, chill. I'm just coming for a visit. Let's have a little bit of family bonding time. And she's like, okay, what do you want to do for family bonding time? He's like, how about a friendly competition? Let's let's make some gods, you and I, as two of the elder gods of this pantheon. Let's make some gods. And she's like, okay. And so they set to work. And each of them make 8 gods each. But the the win conditions of this competition are poorly defined. So once they have created these 8 gods each, they start arguing over who wins. And Susanoo, being basically a bit of a dickhead, gets pissed off and hurls a flayed pony into Amaterasu's weaving hall, the horrific, bloody sight of which causes one of her handmaidens to drop dead of shock. Amaterasu, understandably, not best pleased with this, banishes him from her realm, and then goes off to sulk in a cave. Now, lest you be worried about Susanoo no Mikoto, he goes through a bunch of shit involving a prince and a sword and whatever. And he gets back in the good graces eventually. That's another story. Amaterasu, however, is sulking in a cave, Demeter-like. If you know the story of Demeter and Persephone from the Greek pantheon, it's weird how these things like kind of just happen in different cultures. The sun going away is a thing. How do we explain winter? They say probably some bitch being moody. And so Amaterasu is in the cave sulking, and because therefore the sun doesn't rise, shit starts to die. Not only that, the sun being a force for good, demons from the underworld start appearing and murdering the populace. So the rest of the gods are like, oh shit, we should do something about this. So they gather together at the mouth of the cave, and a few of them come together and go, well, what brings the sun out? What brings the sun out? Roosters. Roosters, that's what we need. We can grab some roosters, take them, put them in front of the cave, and make them crow. And then Amaterasu will notice the morning, and she should come out and be sun, and they'll be fine. Now, Amaterasu is not stupid. She hears the rooster calls and goes, yeah, okay, yeah. I'm not that dumb. I'm not like a Pavlov dog. I'm not going to just fucking pop out because you put some roosters down. And I'm assuming that the gods that suggested that were demoted or fired. But not so much as the second round. We're like, okay, well, Amaterasu is a beauty, the sun, the sunrise. It's the beauty of the sun. Perhaps we can encourage her to come out by her own beauty. So we get this mirror and put it in front of the cave. And if she spots herself in the mirror, she'll be like, oh my god, I'm so pretty. And she will come out. Now, in some tellings of the story, this is potentially more effective than others, but I like to think that Amaterasu is not that dumb. And she's like, nah, I'm going to stay in the cave. And the gods that suggested the mirror, again, are fired. But then the gods decide that, well, the dawn is a celebration. It's the new day. Let's consult an expert. And so they go to Ameno Uzume no Makoto, who is the goddess of frivolity, party, art, and the dawn. And she's like, leave it to me, lads. I know what to do. Yo! Let me have your attention, please. And she starts doing a striptease. Literally getting her nethers and norks out in front of the cave. Now, hearing all this commotion of gods and roosters and enthusiastic goddesses, Amaterasu comes out, read into that as much as you wish, and decides, like, yeah, okay, I'll do the sun thing. So I'm going to just take this story as victory for lesbians. Yay, girl love, save the world. Because any story that ends in a striptease is you can't really fucking fault it if you're honest.
In the great Buddhist tradition of magical things happening when you die, and the other great Buddhist tradition of being prohibited from drinking alcohol, I'm going to stay well and truly alive and toast everyone and spill it all over my keyboard and say, happy whatever Buddhist holiday it might happen to be today. In the Theravada tradition, which is the one I've kind of done most of my study on, I've been to monasteries and the monks aren't allowed to cook meat. Well, they're not allowed to cook at all. They're not allowed to kind of prepare meat for themselves to eat. They're not allowed to have meat specifically killed for them to eat. But if people bring meat, then they should eat it because it's offered. So it's really, really strange. The rule says you shouldn't eat meat, but you've got to kind of eat meat if people bring it for you, which is a little bit weird. And it's funny in the monasteries as well, because a lot of people go to the monasteries a vegetarian. And what happens is when you stay in there, particularly, as I have done in a couple of monasteries, the monks kind of go up and get the abbot goes first, and then like order of rank go up and get the food, and then all the guests that are staying there go and get their food. And a lot of the guests are vegetarian, but a lot of the food that's been prepared sometimes contains meat. So it's really weird that you like see these kind of guests getting really uppity and a little bit arsey sometimes about like having to eat meat or having meat presented when they've got this kind of ideal that the monks should be vegetarian. There's a lot of stuff like that that goes on in Buddhist monasteries. I've got a bad knee. I smashed my knee up wrestling, and when I have been to monasteries, the kind of thing is you sit on the floor below the abbot, and I've always sat on a chair because of my knee, and I've literally had people comment like within earshot, but not directly to me. Well, he shouldn't be sat on a chair. That's uncalled for. He shouldn't be doing that. That's disrespectful. And there's a lot of stuff like that goes on. It's really, really strange. They're really strange places. But yeah, if you ever get a chance to go to one, go. Hello, my name is Richard Gilliver, and I am going to tell you some stories about Buddhism. I'm going to tell you some things from the Vinaya Pitaka, which is the Buddhist rules that monastics are expected to adhere to. And specifically, we're going to be dealing with the Parajika, which are breaches of discipline that led to automatic expulsion from the monastic community, and the Sangha Disesa. I said that after nearly a bottle of whiskey. I hope you're proud. Those that require acknowledgement and resolution. As we are about to see, nuns are always subordinate to monks in these situations, as in every aspect of Buddhist monastic life. So I'm going to... There's something I need to kind of throw out there to begin with. Taking these reports into account, we've got to note that particularly the Vinaya version that I have a hard version. And the translator of the version that I have of the Vinaya Pitaka states that regarding the crudity of some of the verses I'm about to tell you about. And these are his words. I have therefore omitted some of the cruder Sutta Devanga passages, and I have given abbreviated versions of others. And what he's saying there is, in other words, these stories aren't the worst of it. The worst ones have been left untranslated, and given what we are about to hear, I can only imagine what was taking part in those verses. I think there were almost 50 untranslated verses in the version I have. Early Buddhists were proper into their bouncy, regardless of how deplorable that activity was, and they went out of their way, as we are going to see, to circumnavigate the rules laid down to prevent this behavior. The Buddha clearly didn't have control of his monks, and the formulating and updating of rules to try and combat this seems to have been an ongoing practice, as is drinking this lovely beverage. So I'm going to tell this story in the style of a British TV news reporter from the 1970s. These are all taken from the Buddhist scriptures. Nothing here is fabricated at all. Here is the news. It turns out that the early community of Buddhist monks were dirty old bastards, and the Buddha was not happy with what he considered cases of sexual misconduct. He seems to have rather strict guidelines and is conflating perfectly healthy sexual activity with offences of a deplorable nature. Our reporter has been following these allegations. An incident occurred at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove at Anathapindika's monastery, where a monk has been caught having a quick one off the wrist. On being asked why he looked so healthy and had been accused of taking medicine, he responded, "I do not take medicine. I emit semen using my hand." On another occasion, a monk took it upon himself to rub himself up against a visitor's wife, causing condemnation and a strict set of rules preventing monks from rubbing themselves against women, men, eunuchs, animals, and the nature spirit yakas. Yet another man was found arranging young girls to be sent to a sect of naked ascetics, who for a month-long period made use of them as female slaves, which incited condemnation from the Buddha, and rightly so, who incited the rule that men, monks specifically, should not act as a go-between. Not to be outdone by their friends at Savatthi, a monk in the Great Wood of Vasali kept a female monkey into who he did send his business. In fact, it is reported sexual intercourse of any kind has been forbidden by the Buddha, and listed are such acts as having a bit of the other with a human woman, a man awake, asleep, intoxicated, mad drunk, dead but undecomposed, dead and practically decomposed, dead and practically decomposed. I think I've said that twice, and all the above apply not just to humans but to non-humans, animals, human and non-human animal hermaphrodites, and human and non-human animal eunuchs. Other monks, it is alleged, have indulged in self-sucking. Lucky bastards. It is alleged that the monks tried to get around these rules by not wearing the robes of monks. A variety of disguises were employed, including the clothing of laymen, clothes made of grass, bark, wood shavings, hair, owl's wings, and antelope hide. One might suggest when people are going to these lengths to get around the rules themselves might be the things that are problematic, as is my drinking. It wasn't just healthy sexual relationships. Perhaps we can exclude banging a monkey and various stages of decomposition here from my term healthy that the monks were getting up to. Graphic warning. The following contains explicit sexual content, including with minors. You might want to turn away now for the next section. A monk wandering in the wild saw a little girl relaxing on her back and made his thumb enter her to such an extent that she passed away. Another indulged in bouncy with his mum, sister, and daughter. Other monks were chastised for doing the deed with diseased corpses. a plaster decoration, a wooden doll, and while the occasional blowjob is not at all frowned upon in a healthy society, trying to get one from a decapitated head in a graveyard, as one monk did, is right out. And as we have seen, the Buddhist monks in the Buddhist community did like to outdo each other. So one tried to have relations with his deceased girlfriend's scattered bones. Finally, in a very sad case, a youth sexually assaulted a nun. Disturbingly, in this encounter, the nun had to report it to her male superiors and wait for a decision from the Buddha. He said she was not at fault because she was not willing. The terrible part, of course, of this story is not that she was acquitted, but that she had to wait for the decision of a man who wasn't there to make the decision, and as to whether she was guilty or not after being sexually assaulted. This concludes this evening's news.